The Biafran Liberation Army reportedly confronted and overpowered an anti-crime patrol team believed to include corrupt or fake police officers operating in Enugu state. Some eyewitness alleges that the Biafra Liberation Army intervened during a situation where these patrol operatives were engaging in misconduct or criminal behavior. There is visible community support for the Biafra Liberation Army's actions, with people praising them for standing against what is described as injustice and police abuse. A peaceful protest had earlier occurred, but it was disrupted by security forces, allegedly using excessive force against unarmed civilians. Some critics criticize the Nigerian police for their handling of both the protest and alleged criminal activities, accusing them of turning into oppressors. Several suspected kidnappers or criminals were reportedly caught and exposed during the Biafra Liberation Army's intervention. Locals were interviewed or overheard confirming the events, with references to past incidents and ongoing concerns about safety and police misconduct. The Biafran Liberation Army is portrayed as a protective force, stepping in where the state security apparatus has failed or acted with brutality. The local community and residents expressed gratitude to the Biafra Liberation Army, suggesting that they are the real defenders of the people in the absence of trustworthy law enforcement. In Enugu state, which is in the southeastern part of Nigeria, something significant happened recently that is drawing attention not just across the region, but also in the broader discussions surrounding the role of law enforcement and community protection. It all started when a group identified as the Biafran Liberation Army reportedly clashed with a group of people who were operating as an anti-crime patrol team. Now, the anti-crime patrol team was supposed to be part of the security system in place to protect residents and maintain law and order. But what makes this incident quite controversial and dramatic is the allegation that this patrol team was not only corrupt, but possibly made up of fake police officers who were taking advantage of their position to engage in criminal activities themselves. According to multiple eyewitnesses and local sources, the confrontation between the Biafran Liberation Army and the anti-crime patrol team was not an accident. It was said to have occurred during a moment of heightened tension in the area, a time when the people were already agitated due to a protest that had taken place earlier. This protest, though peaceful in nature, had reportedly been disrupted by members of the Nigerian police force, who allegedly used excessive force against unarmed civilians. Those present during the protest claimed that the demonstrators were not armed and were simply expressing their frustrations and concerns about safety, police misconduct, and deteriorating living conditions in the community. Now, imagine the confusion and growing anger when the people who were supposed to be protecting them, the anti-crime patrol team, were themselves accused of being involved in criminal activities. This was the exact moment when the Biafran Liberation Army is said to have intervened. Some people in the community described it as a timely and bold move, as they claimed the patrol team had been harassing innocent residents and possibly working hand in hand with known criminals, including kidnappers. As the Biafran Liberation Army moved in, what followed was not just a verbal confrontation, but a physical one, in which the Biafran Liberation Army allegedly overpowered the patrol team and took control of the situation. During this confrontation, several individuals who were believed to be kidnappers or criminals were apprehended. This detail is important because it suggests that the Biafran Liberation Army did not just act out of provocation or for show, but rather had some information or intent to dismantle an ongoing criminal operation. It is worth reflecting on how the narrative is shaped depending on who is telling the story. On one side, there are those who argue that the Biafran Liberation Army took the law into their own hands, which raises serious concerns about the breakdown of official law enforcement in that region. On the other side, there is a growing chorus of voices within the community that suggests the official police have long lost their credibility, and in their absence, it is groups like the Biafran Liberation Army who step in to provide some form of justice and defense for the people. Many of the locals interviewed or overheard in the area seemed convinced that the patrol team had no good intentions and that their removal was necessary to restore peace in the community. Let us take a moment to consider the role of the Biafran Liberation Army in this context. The Biafran Liberation Army is one of several groups that advocate for the rights and self-determination of the Igbo people in southeastern Nigeria. These groups often operate with a strong sense of identity and purpose, rooted in the historical memory of the Biafran War, which took place between 1967 and 1970. For many in the region, the trauma of that conflict and the perceived marginalization by the central Nigerian government have created a fertile ground for separatist sentiments and local activism. The Biafran Liberation Army, in particular, presents itself not as a terrorist or criminal group, as sometimes portrayed by Nigerian authorities, but rather as a protective force committed to defending Igbo lives and territories from internal and external threats. In the situation in Enugu state, that protective image seemed to resonate strongly with the local population. Residents reportedly gathered to thank members of the Biafran Liberation Army, some even calling them the real defenders of the people. This public show of support speaks volumes about the level of distrust that now exists between the people and the formal law enforcement agencies. It is an alarming sign when the police, who should be guardians of the law, are instead feared or despised by the very people they are supposed to protect. What made the entire encounter more dramatic was the aftermath of the protest that took place just before the confrontation. Although it is still not entirely clear what triggered the protest, there is consensus that it was peaceful and involved mostly young people who were fed up with the insecurity, poverty, and abuse they face on a daily basis. However, reports and video footage suggest that security agents came in with force, dispersing the crowd with tear gas, beating some of the participants, and arresting others. This heavy-handed response added fuel to an already burning fire of dissatisfaction. It painted a picture of a government and police force that are quick to suppress dissent, but slow to respond to the cries of people being kidnapped or killed in their communities. When the Biafran Liberation Army moved in and began confronting the patrol team, it did not take long for people to start documenting and recording what was happening. The video footage from Magnetic TV France, a YouTube channel that often covers developments related to the Biafran movement, captures several moments where community members can be heard questioning the behavior of the police, criticizing their actions, and praising the intervention by the Biafran Liberation Army. At some points in the video, people can be seen pointing to specific individuals who were allegedly involved in past criminal acts, now being caught or exposed by the Biafran Liberation Army. The message that kept repeating from various voices in the video and from people interviewed after the event was one of relief and gratitude. There was a sense that someone had finally done something about the growing wave of kidnappings and violence. Some of the arrested individuals were identified by name, though full details remain unclear due to the chaotic nature of the events. Still, it appears that at least some of those apprehended were long suspected by locals of being involved in shady activities. This raises an important question about the failure of local authorities to act earlier. If the community knew about these criminals and the police did nothing, was it then wrong for a group like the Biafran Liberation Army to step in? Of course, such actions come with risks. When non-state actors begin to take on roles meant for the state, such as policing, investigation, and punishment, the line between justice and vigilantism becomes dangerously blurred. There is no judicial process, no trial, no guarantee of fair treatment. Even if the people caught are guilty, bypassing due process opens the door to abuse and mistaken identity. However, what makes this story more complex is the reality that the people no longer trust the judicial process or those meant to carry it out. This distrust is rooted in years of corruption, nepotism, and brutality by some elements within the Nigerian police force. Many people in Enugu state and other parts of southeastern Nigeria feel abandoned. They believe that their safety, dignity, and future mean little to those in power. This feeling is not just emotional, it is backed by countless examples of police harassment, unexplained disappearances, delayed justice, and visible poverty in communities rich in resources. For them, the arrival of the Biafran Liberation Army was not just about catching criminals, it was a symbol of hope and self-reliance. The incident has sparked debates at different levels. Human rights groups are now looking into the situation, trying to understand whether excessive force was used, whether the patrol team was indeed illegitimate, and what legal consequences could follow. The Nigerian government has not officially commented on the details of the incident, and the Nigerian police force has neither confirmed nor denied the status of the patrol team involved. This silence is creating more suspicion and confusion. In communities like those in Enugu state, people are watching closely to see what will happen next. Will the government investigate and clean up the police force? Will the Biafran Liberation Army continue to gain support and strength? Or will the situation spiral further into lawlessness and conflict? These are serious questions, and the answers will have a deep impact not only on Enugu state, but on the broader security and political future of southeastern Nigeria. What happened between the Biafran Liberation Army and the anti-crime patrol team is not just a news story. It is a reflection of a deeper crisis in Nigeria. It shows how fragile trust in institutions has become, how vulnerable communities feel, and how alternative power structures are rising in places where the state has failed. Whether you agree with the methods used by the Biafran Liberation Army or not, their popularity in places like Enugu is a warning signal. People are desperate for protection, justice, and dignity. If they cannot get it from the government, they will seek it elsewhere, even if that means embracing armed groups. As the days go by, more details will emerge. Some people will be praised, others blamed. But for now, one thing is clear. Something powerful is happening in southeastern Nigeria, and it cannot be ignored. The people are speaking, not just with their voices, but with their choices, their support, and their defiance. And in the middle of all this stands the Biafran Liberation Army. Controversial, complicated, and, for many, a symbol of hope in a time of fear. The events in Enugu state involving the Biafran Liberation Army and the anti-crime patrol team continue to unfold with new details and perspectives emerging daily. As more people come forward to share their accounts, and as independent observers begin to take a closer look at the situation, the full scope of what happened is beginning to take shape. However, what is becoming even more evident is that the events were not isolated or spontaneous. They were rooted in long-standing tensions, grievances, and unmet expectations between the people of southeastern Nigeria and the Nigerian state.
Let's go! When did they demolish that motor now?
Vandalize person. Evil, see, so the police go do. Innocent protesters. When they don't carry gun, they don't carry weapon.
Then ndị nke agburu nwanne ya asị m na ndị asị m na onu agburu nke last 3 days ago. Ịma na asị gị na onye ga-azọ ga ebe a bụ si eziokwu maka ozu nke ahụ unu gburu nwanne ya ka dị ebe n'ikita and ị ga-ejefu ya ịghọtago after nke a ka unu ome nke today. So mgbe anyị jidere onye nke ọzọ si na onu ncha na-arụ dị ọrụ so amaghị m ka isizi adị na anyị ime eziokwu niile ị ga-ekwu kwuchie ha ncha ịghọtago ya bụ ịbụ victim n'ihe na-amarọ
mama na ebe a nọ na ndị achọ nke gbagba m ọkụ nke m aga nwunye m bụ nwa ọfụrụ nọkwa na home operation so sa eziokwu niile m ga-agwa gị bụ ntụghachi efuru nke si ya na
ka ya ọgwụ nene ma stitch okay
ọ bụ dị na ụnụ mee ihe ọbụla soro sala anya eziokwu nwere ike gwa efuru si ya na ahụ ebe last 3 weeks close to a month ebe last 3 weeks efuru si ya na ahụ esom aga ma shash sa efuru si ya na esom mana ha egburukweni mmadụ ha maka ha ji and igwe this guy na onye akpụrụ ụgbọelu ọsọ onye akpụrụ ụgbọelu igwe okwu onye akpụrụ ụgbọelu with the other guy still on sleeve so go for today so eso ha so ha na aso ebe ụzọ gulo ana the man say na the man agba ọsọ so ha agbapụta Enugu 90 man ifuru nke short bus ata eso kwa
so nke ahụ bụ nwanne ya isohozi
ya kwuo eziokwu ọwụ na okwu eziokwu na ha gburu mmadụ ma ha gburu na o nwere onye ha gburu nwanne ya ya kpọọ m afa si na nso
oge ngwachekwala o nwere nke unu mere na eri Novemba n'ụzọ ebe a ọ sị anyị na ihu nso unu na-arụ wanga anyị na-ebu moto eji ebu mmiri nnukwu moto eji ebu mmiri so nsi ya ka eje bute osi rutezie n'ụzọ lokal gọọmenti akụgbuo dị guy kpọbapa ya ọfịa ofu sistem ahụ anyị jụ ya kịta ọgwụ ọ si na isokwa ka e isi adị naizi ị marọ nke last month ahụ ịma na ọ nwere njisisi akụzi na gị ife
ya kwuo ya n'iru m ya were eziokwu unu tibe m ihe unu hapụla m ahụ ifuru Siana and the shuttle bus eso m ya so the guy mgbidi kpọkwa ya nwa na igwe jee Owerri
anyị
yes ha jere Owerri anyị jebute moto here ya na mgbidi onye si na ya nwere onye nwe ebe ya ahụ that guy still on sleeve gbara ọsọ oh yes ya nwa yes na kpọta the buyer na-ego ya
and this is not your well
yes onye mgbidi because all this guy akpụrụ ụgbọelu kpọtara ya onye ka si m nle anya na anya ma onye a na n'odu the guy si na ya onye Imo State magwa na nkwụ n'ime Imo State orugekwe 1 month now mana that guy ama m street ama m ọya nwoke ina na esan building obi n'ọka obi na tipa garage n'odu mana ya nwa na onwe ya anyị ka ahụ onwe ya ma Jehova ọwụ injinia ka ọwụ
so ya ma Jehova
yes ọ na-arụ injinia na-arụ building work so yes ọ bụrụ mbịa do block ọkwa onye nka na ọbịa do block anyị anarugwe onye nke ọzọ onye nka tilo sleeve kwaso today do block ebe a so mana efuru Siana ya dị Siana ebutere n'ụzọ obodo Siana ebutere n'ụzọ obodo eso ha na-ata edema na-agba ọsọ so efuru shuttle bus a today
isi na demand gbara ọsọ onye unu wee ha ma nnukwu n'isi ka isi na ọ gbara unkiela ala n'isi
yes that guy
maka unkiela ya ala n'isi ma asị gị na nsi esi m Ugben esi m ebe na ebe after ka ị gbara ọsọ a now I went to Ugben to confirm ebe ahụ na kugbuo ya nke taa Chineke yere ndị anyị wabugara ya hospital unu gbuburu ya nke ọzọ nwanne ya bube ya n'ọfịa wait then mgbe anyị ruru Ugbenyi after ka ejidere ọya nke a anyị bịa jụba ya ọ sị na unu ncha mere nke si ya na ịma na ikwete buru before last 2 weeks na-eme 3 weeks now wait now nke unu gburu nwanne nya unu ọ sị na ọkwa unu mekwa the same thing ịghọtago so ihe anyị na-akọ bụ ịma ọ mechaa anyị ka ga-akpụta igwe ihe anyị ka ji hapụ bụ ka ndị nna ha na-alụ
igwe nọ n'ụlọ ọma ihe mere igwe nọ n'ụlọ ya na-akpụrụ ụgbọelu ọma ihe mere onye nke asị nwụrụ anwụ today wa asị na ọwụ onye shuttle bus onye asị nwụrụ anwụ oke mana asị na ọwụ onye mma
ebe ụnọ wee kpọrọ ya kpọrọ
ebe ha nọ n'amasị ya
ndị agha ekene onye ebe ka ewu Ugbenyi ebe na Ugbenyi akpụrụ Ugbenyi gụwakwanụ Oyeka okeke onye ebe ka ewu onye akpụrụ Ugbenyi ọka unu na-eme anyị ihe na-eme anyị odogwu ndị agha gị na ogunu mere n'ahịa ka iji wee cheta ụbọchị taa esi na aha ebu gị na Ekene Vitalis onye ebe ka ebu Imo steeti dị ka na abịa aghị anyị imi na asị nwa anyị na-aghị anyị igbuo ndị be anyị maọbụ igbu anyị
apịa onye akpọrị ọrụ duru rute olu ewere ha ma pịa ya n'isi
n'ụzọ olu ọ hụkwa n'olu rute n'ụzọ olu apịa ya ha ma apịa ha ma ọ daa akpụkpọ ya n'ime ọhịa onye nwe moto akịta ha gburu ya moto anụnwa na onye ha gburu ọya ahụ ọ ka nọ na hospital na ebe na ebe keki so mana ha bịara olu ha ama nnana onweghị ka ụdị ihe ahụ bịa n'olu ka ha na-ekwe na taya nwa dara ahụ anyị na-ebu moto ahapụ now.
This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.